All right, we ready to start? I'll do the crack.
We are. You're going to do crack? I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
That was a bad joke.
No, it's a good joke. I didn't understand it because I'm trying to set myself up for success with this. Here we go. 3, 3, 2, 1. Hang on. Okay, keep it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, yeah. Cheers.
It's good. Cheers.
I'll be honest, though. The can crack, there was a lot of, jockeying for position to make sure, that was... Yeah. You know what I mean?
I was just
sound.
letting yourself walk yourself into...
Yeah, your facial
whatever
expression
you're
was
going to
do. Okay, shithead. Good luck. No puns allowed. Adam and Paige, good to see you. We are a day late because I was Wisconsin Delsing with the fam. Now, normally this would be perfectly good random shit, but I will say this. With 3 young-ish kids, 8, 6, and now 4, when I do a family vacation, this was on the shorter side, I need a vacation after the vacation.
Yeah.
We had a really nice time, but I am so fucking tired. I'm it is a struggle. This beer tastes delightful. It's needed. You need a day or two to decompress after that. But here we are. We're getting by. So
you survived.
Good time. I did. I survived. Have you ever done a duck boat?
I have not. I do know what a duck boat is.
Okay. I like it. 8 out of 10. Strong recommend. Not highly recommend. Strong recommend the duck boat. Weirdest thing though. So we're in the Wisconsin River, right? So duck boat is you got on wheels and then it goes in the water. There were people swimming. Okay, it was 65 degrees in the Wisconsin River with buoys attached to them so they don't get nailed by a boat. Okay, this is not the cleanest river. It certainly didn't look it didn't look
that sounds.
It didn't look like something I'd like to do. But I did admire in the rain, 65 degrees, swimming in a dirty river. But there's a billion pools in the Wisconsin Dells. There's got to be a better way than this to the people swimming in the Wisconsin River.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great. I'm not really big on getting into bodies of water. I'll get in the water in Hawaii, but I even lakes freak me out too. I like the lake because I at least know but it's dirty. That's the thing. It's dirty. Lakes are dirty, and then oceans have sharks.
They are dirty.
So I just am not really big into getting into bodies of water. Big boat girl. I love to be on a boat. I love to be on a beach.
Boats are great.
But I like to be even pools. I don't really get in that often. I'm not really a in the water kind of gal.
My other observation is people watching at water parks. It's it is electric.
My favorite is the adult that just forgets they're an adult and is a child and will bulldoze whoever to get into whatever position they need to do to get on the slide that they want to go to and all of that.
There is such a bizarre dynamic, and you were in you're not upper Wisconsin, but you're in Wisconsin, so you got there's some fascinating people watching. I mean, it was great, but I had fun. I did every slide.
Yes,
they had a face first slide that you did on the mat.
You have to.
Yes, you have to do face first. That was a good one.
Questionable.
Lazy River, too much of a pain in the ass with the kids. Would not recommend because they're Lazy River should be relaxing. They're sitting there for 20 seconds, let's do something else. No, let's sit here
and just the Lazy
be normal.
River.
I do too, but not with kids.
One of the first lazy rivers I've ever been on. Sorry to interrupt you, but one of the first lazy rivers I ever was in and loved as a kid and remember is the one at Monte Carlo because I had a dance convention in Vegas. And they had a lazy river, and that was where we spent all of our off time. So I was maybe 8.
No, I mean lazy rivers are good. They're just not a good mesh with young kids. They can't sit still. And then lots of mini golf. Played a lot of mini golf, which is I still got it. So that would be my official Dells review. I've never been there extensively. We'll go back. It was fun. It had a lot. It got young kids. I would recommend. And this is not an ad read. This is just a dad trying to get by. That's all this is.
This is
So,
just dad advice. We're starting the day with dad advice.
but on my way, I picked up my first college football preview magazine. Also,
Oh.
not a plug, but little Athlon. So, in the hotel at night, right? Like,
Wow,
or
that
Lindy's,
that
excuse
cover
me.
must have spoke to you. For those of you who are
It's
not
Lindy's. It looks
watching
like
on
Athlon.
YouTube, there's a big guy on the front.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big man, and I called it Athlon when it's Lindy's. They kind of look the same. Clearly, I read it cover to cover.
Clearly not an ad read.
Well, I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry to both of you. Pissed off everybody. But I do. I want to like ease into it, and I saw it. It is a little jarring how expensive. I mean, this is like $12. Like this is like a
That is
$12
expensive.
Mac. But still, I got to do my
And you could
part to
probably have
support.
gotten it for free, just so you know. But
I know, but I just can't. I can't help myself. So, but I'm
yeah,
easing into Preview Mag season, which felt pretty good.
okay. I like that. We should definitely at some point go over like what each of us do to kind of like prep for the season, because it was so funny.
Yeah,
Somebody asked me yesterday about like, oh, who are the players that I should be watching? I'm like, look, that it's not that season yet. It's not that season. Give me
that's
2 more
an
weeks, and then
August
it's
question.
no. That's like a post 4th of July question, because one, we got to make sure we know which team everybody's on to start with.
That is true.
So yeah, we're not there yet. But yeah, I mean, it's rapidly approaching is college football season, but I feel like we've heard more about the 2024 season
I
than
know.
even this season coming up, because we have now seen what the new SEC looks like, and the schedule was it leaked and then they put it out? Was that what happened?
I feel like there was just like little morsels for like 3 days. Like
Yeah.
certain beats got certain things,
And
and
then the SEC was just like, all right,
screw it. And
yeah.
you don't know. So you don't know. You know the opponents. You don't know like the week to week grind,
Mm-hmm.
which changes things. But you know the opponents now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have takeaways. But what were your initial thoughts about the whole exercise?
Initial thoughts was just like looking at it, it's like kind of overwhelming, because like you're used to the SEC being big, but even adding 2 more teams just made it seem like that much more of like a monster. And I was like, this feels like almost too much. Like, I would not want to see like a 20-team conference or even like an 18-team conference, which we've talked about. Like, we feel like it's going to go to like 3 super conferences eventually. But like, it felt like kind of a lot, and it felt very chaotic. I'm happy that obviously like Texas, Oklahoma still remains a thing. Texas is going to play Texas A&M, which I know is really important to college football fans. So there's certain things like that. I do feel awful for Texas and Oklahoma, because again, they like just are walking right into playing Alabama and Georgia, and like that is just seems like, I looked at the schedules and I was like, gosh, that just must seem awful. So yeah, I'm interested, and not to say that there aren't other teams in the SEC that are really good that are definitely going to give Texas and Oklahoma a run for their money, but like thinking about Oklahoma playing Alabama, I'm like, uh-oh. This, like the this is fine
Yes.
gif,
Oh
like
yeah.
that's, and same with Texas and Georgia. Like thinking about Texas playing Georgia, I'm like, oh, poor Texas. You know what I mean? Like that it kind of makes me nervous that yes, brand wise, definitely great that they're joining, but football wise, I still feel like there's a pretty big gap between Texas and Georgia. So there's that.
So okay, I'll ask you a question too because I have some observations. I agree. It is overwhelming and it's weird. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about 2024 as a whole because I feel like the recalibration on the sport is imminent, and it feels like we're talking more about that than this upcoming season, and maybe for good reason.
Yeah.
Florida, my initially, like I look at Florida, right, and I'm looking at 2024 opponents. Home games against Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, and A&M. Okay, road games against Georgia, Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Texas. Like, does Billy Napier have a job
In
like
2020.
after in 20? I guess I mean
Does he
like
even get there first and then?
like I'm looking at the schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi State on the road is maybe the most Kentucky at home. but these are games that Florida like has lost and can lose. Like, so I'm looking at this, and I just feel like for teams that are in the middle of the pack,
Mhm.
this is a fucking meat grinder,
Yeah, I mean,
and
to
like
play.
Arkansas, it's like a running joke with Arkansas, and Arkansas fans like we're like thrilled with this. Like, oh no, Bama, like no Georgia. And I look at Arkansas, I'm like, oh man, it's still very hard.
Yeah, they
Um,
played Texas A&M, still pretty difficult. I think Florida playing at Georgia. Well, they don't play at Georgia, but they play Georgia and then at Tennessee and at Texas. Those are
yep.
two not really easy places to go and play. I mean, take it from Alabama, it's not easy to go to Texas.
It,
Um, so yeah, that's certainly interesting.
it's also like it's a game of like trajectory, right? Like I'm thinking that Texas and Texas A&M at this point are going to be much better off than they are right now.
Hmm.
Although I've been saying that about Texas A&M for like 3 years. So, but like I
So
look at like a Vandy,
yeah,
right?
I was
You
just
have
I was just gonna say we should talk about Vanderbilt
now if you're a fan of the program or if you're like a fan of the school, you're going to see Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas at home.
home.
But you're also like Auburn is going to be better. LSU, road game. I mean, like this is like, what do you do here? What do you do if
Yeah.
you're a
I
Vandy?
mean,
Like,
Vanderbilt, I'd be happy at least with the home games that we got, but like going to LSU, I mean, going to Auburn too, but you get to go to, not to hate on Kentucky, but Kentucky and Missouri, like that's a lot better than having to play like, Alabama away and those kind of things. Not that they're even going to compete, but yeah, Vanderbilt, man. It's so funny that you brought up because I legitimately was looking at it and I was like, like that just I mean, Arkansas doesn't have to play
big
no
boys, the
Bama. They
biggest,
don't have to
but
play at I mean, they play at Texas A&M, we said, but like getting LSU at home, Ole Miss at home, Tennessee and Texas at home, that's big.
it's just like this whole thing. It just it does. I'll go back to meat grinder, right? Like you look at what these teams have. A team like Tennessee, a big part
Mhm.
of it's like rivalries. So you
Yeah.
get Alabama at home, you get Florida at home, Kentucky, Mississippi State. Like that doesn't feel bad. You play at Arkansas, you play at Georgia, you play at Oklahoma. Like I'm very curious how the hierarchy of the SEC is going to shake out, and really specifically with Oklahoma and Texas, because I see these teams. They're such like important brands,
Yeah.
hashtag brands, and I do think Texas is going to be a problem. Like I just can't help it. I think Texas is, and Oklahoma's recruited well as well, but it's like from a sheer entertainment standpoint, I think this is going to be just extraordinary, and it is the narrative. SEC just means
Oh,
more. It's hard to argue with though.
it's
Like you look at
glorious.
these
Looking
games,
at it, it's
these week to
glorious. It's
week.
overwhelming, but it's overwhelmingly awesome. And I mean, to be fair, like Texas, like you said, will I think be fine. I'm obviously more concerned about Oklahoma joining, but like this, it does mean more a little bit here.
If you're a team like Missouri, right,
Yeah.
who plays at Alabama, at Mississippi State, at South Carolina, at A&M. Look, South Carolina is playing great ball.
Yeah.
Alabama is going to be Alabama. A&M should be better. Should. Bobby Petrino offense, et cetera, et cetera. Auburn, Oklahoma at home. You got Vandy in there, right? Like you like pick and choose your spots for these teams, like the bottom quarter of the league. But
Yeah.
I am just fascinated to see this play out and to see it also then come together in the full season.
Yeah.
There's going to be entertainment like all over the place. I mean, there really is.
Do you think that we see, because talking about like Vanderbilt and Mizzou in these situations, and also seeing how like chaotic this schedule already appears, do you think, we've touched on this a bit, do you think that the SEC expands again, or do you think the SEC replaces teams that aren't living up to their potential first?
I think that I think it's really interesting. Does the SEC still need fodder? Like Vanderbilt serves a purpose in the SEC academically and Like, and they
Yeah,
have
but that
some
doesn't
other
mean
really
you
good
can't get
programs.
another academically good school from somewhere else.
No, like, but I think if you were to remove teams, it's because you'd want to add a Clemson.
That's what I'm
Or a
saying.
Florida
Is a
State.
perfect example. You took the example I was about to use. I would kick Vanderbilt out and bring Clemson in, and Vanderbilt can join like a lower tier, kind of like we talked about how European football does, relegation and things like that. I think before, because I think once we get into like a 20 team conference, like that becomes really complicated. People don't play each other as often. It's not as like it takes away from like the goodness of college football. And I think
Yes.
that at this point, it might be that where like you have to earn your spot to stay in these conferences, and it is going to be a lot more moving around. I think once they're like established and we know which three are sort of going to be the running groups, it'll start to change up. Because I also think even if you look at the Big 12, like you have teams that are joining this year, and it's like, okay, do those teams get to stay over the Pac-12 teams? Do they get to stay over maybe an ACC team? So it is going to be kind of interesting to see how it all unfolds
I
once the
I
next couple of years. I think there's going to be a lot more movement, and it's not going to be as regular
I do
outside of
think
the major brands for college football.
well, I don't think that the Pac-12 teams would have an influence on this. Maybe in the Big Ten, with Washington and Oregon being the two that have been sort of connected,
Mm-hmm.
at least with the SEC. But I do think the ACC, the what was the Tremendous Eight? What was the name of those fucking
Magnificent
teams that are?
Seven.
Oh, all right, magnificent. I was off on name and teams, but that's what I think of the Magnificent Seven. Way to go, NC State! Like, where are you going to land? No, they're going to look at getting out of their deal probably, and that's where the shakeup could come. I think that's where, if you're a fan of the SEC, that's where it would look. But honestly, if you're the SEC right now, new television deal, new teams coming, it feels good. And I'm a Big Ten guy, right? Like, you're just looking at this, you're sizing up the conference, Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Texas. It looks weird, but my God, it on paper it feels really good. Um, and it speaks to, by the way, just how fucked up is 2024 going to be for college football? Like, how fucking weird? Like,
It's
in a
going to be
good way.
different.
It's
Yeah.
going to be different. It
Um,
is. It's going to be different.
yeah, I decided that we're going to do a workshop idea here on the fly.
Yes.
In some episode before the start of the season, we should pick like, okay, we should make the big three, like the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12, and decide what teams we would want to be, and then maybe put like a cap on number of how many teams can be in them, and make our ideal scenarios based on one who's
Ooh,
staying in it, and make our ideal scenario for a big three.
I like this. Like a
Okay.
draft. Like, are we doing a conference
No, we don't
draft?
need to draft it. We can just decide it ourselves and then we'll separately and then come together and explain our reasoning behind putting certain teams where.
Ooh, that's even better. Although it's actual homework, which
Yes. Which I
I'm
know.
just saying. Yeah,
As someone who
like
assigns you homework on a regular basis, I know.
I know. Like, all right, school's out. I guess it's back in.
It's back in
No,
session.
but I guess two things. A, I want to talk about 2024, but first, Mississippi State, their schedule release. Did you see?
Yes, I did. The
Okay.
AI
So,
of the mascots and stuff.
yeah, so if you have not seen this, go to Mississippi State's football Twitter account and just look what they did in terms of presenting it. Um, that's about as much fun as I've had tweeting about college football probably the entire offseason, which is like hilarious mascots.
Mm-hmm.
This is where Twitter is great. This is where Twitter like brings me back in to the
Yeah.
old me. They did a wonderful job of creating content out of something that was already very content heavy. So thank you, Mississippi State, for all of that. But 2024, again, I wrote about this. We've talked about it. It keeps like hitting me in the face, though. You think about USC, UCLA, Oklahoma, and Texas all changing teams, the playoff expanding, the video game coming back. Like, I can only think that this is gonna like the popular. If I could buy stock in college football right now, I would buy a shit ton of college football stock. I think. Do you think that these moves are going to have a positive effect, like I do, or do you think it will be maybe less so?
Yeah, I absolutely think it's going to have a positive effect. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a paying this season because we're going to be trying to focus on this season, and there's going to be a lot of movement going on in terms of how everything shakes out. Because also it's like, it cracks me up that like college football is legitimately the sport that like books and schedules games like 30 years in advance. And now they're just changing things within a year and are like, all right, cool, this is what's happening next season. So yeah, I think it'll be fascinating. I do think it's going to be a bit of a distraction from this season. But I think we might have a pretty chalky season, but who knows?
Did you say chalky or choppy?
Chalky.
Oh.
I know, right? And I think if not,
right.
that could be wild. Yeah, because we had a pretty interesting season last year. There was at least some conversation. I think we might get some chalk this year, but then the year after that, absolute chaos, especially with playoff expansion. Absolute chaos. It's going to be
Saban's going to
so
be coaching Texas. It's going to be wild. Kirby's going to return to Alabama. Did your lights just go out?
I don't know if the power went out. The power might have gone out, or it might just. Oh, I'm on Wi-Fi, so power didn't go out. Look, wait.
Hold on.
And we're back. Hold on.
This is great. Oh, this is great. And we got to see the bobblehead collection.
Well, there's another one for producer Matt and the bloopers.
Oh no, that's perfect. That's gotta stay. Did you kick the cord out of your light?
No, what happened is the cord is like underneath my chair, and today I just decided that I was trying to get extra comfy, and I put my leg up and I stepped on it, and it pulled out of the wall.
It happens. No, it happens.
Now we're back, though. We're back.
We talked about Mississippi State. One thing I did want to talk about a little bit, which I found fascinating and awesome, Mike Leach going into the Texas Tech Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Obviously, here's why I find this. First off, it's great. And it still is weird to talk about Mike Leach like he's gone. Even when I'm reading about him, I'm like, oh my God, that's right. This dude is no longer with us. It doesn't feel that way as a college football fan and just a fan of his, largely a fan of his shenanigans, that he's not a part of it. It hadn't set in, right? But this was a complicated tenure at Texas Tech, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right? When you think about how this thing ended, the fact that it's going this way, it's good. It's a good move. It's probably maybe a layup move for them, although I don't know. Maybe would you consider there was legal litigation, all these different things? Anyway, you can have this dude's legacy live on, and that offense, that team, like it's just the perfect program to kind of allow that legacy to thrive through further future generations. I like it. It's a cool thing.
Well, and it's a good reminder that like some of the like, for lack of a better term, bullshit doesn't really matter. Like, yeah, the contract stuff and yeah, the litigation and all of that. But like at the end of the day, like this person was influential in their program, and which is actually kind of an understatement. And we don't really realize that until it's kind of too late, you know? So just a good positive reminder of like, hey, that kind of stuff doesn't matter, and to focus on like the good that some of the stuff brings.
Would you like to stick with gambling football things, or do you want to pivot? This is your world on our pod. There's not a ton of news things going on other than cartoon characters in the schedule. I am all for everything.
I love how you just said, like, this is your world. This is just whatever Paige wants to do.
I'm here.
Well, let's see. What do we got? What do we got going?
I do want to hear your thoughts on
yeah, let's talk Baby Gronk for a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, so for those that live under a rock and have not heard of Baby Gronk, The Athletic did a story on this kid who is he's 8 years old?
Yes, I think so.
And basically like he's just become like a viral Instagram, I'm pretty sure it's on TikTok too, of just like highlights of him doing stuff. And his dad is like pretty prominent in the DM game and has DM'd pretty much any sports media person to get stories written about his son, saying his son is training at a professional athlete, like a professional athlete. Says he has offers from different schools. Not sure if those are all confirmed or if he's just spewing things. So he did. A friend of the pod, Michael Casagrande, who is our Alabama beat guy,
Yep.
saw that he had said that Alabama had offered him and asked for detail and got no response, and then was blocked. And then, so the reason I saw the baby Gronk thing was because I got an alert that said he had an offer from Arizona. And I was like, are you joking? But like, again, we don't know how much of this is true because this dad is essentially putting all this stuff out. And I know a lot of people have had conversations now. I definitely am disappointed in people that are willing to give him attention. I saw a clip recently of him doing a like podcast interview, and his dad was like, this is where you say this. This is when you do this. And like, look, I'm all for like if your kid has skill to like nurture that skill, but this seems like an exploitation situation, and not seems like it is. And I just find it incredibly inappropriate, and I feel sorry for this kid because his dad is using him as a prop and you living vicariously through him. And like I said, I'm all for like setting your kids up for success. This is like a very grimy scheme, and it just feels gross, and I don't want to give it more attention than it deserves. But I do want to talk about it because I do think it's important that we acknowledge that like this kind of stuff does happen and is going to continue to happen, especially in college football with, you know, social media and people just being able to spew things. And it's our responsibility as media members to be smart about this and not give it attention in the way that even I could say like a Lonzo Ball situation. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
don't give it energy because it's just not, it's the only way to stop it. So I think like this is the only time we'll talk about baby Gronk on this podcast, but I did want to acknowledge that we saw it and like we won't be touching any of that or encouraging that kind of behavior with a child in this sport. It's just not good.
So it's interesting. I've got a couple thoughts as a dad and as a media person.
Mm-hmm.
I've written about recruiting a lot, tens of thousands of words. I've written stories about kids. I wrote about an eighth grader, Captain Goodwin, now who's like turned into a 5-star kid. And I remember at the time writing about him. Now this kid was in eighth grade. He was 6'8", 360 pounds. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember meeting him, and his voice, he hadn't gone through puberty. His voice hadn't like popped yet. And I remember even talking through you and others about how nervous I was. And this is eighth grade versus 8-year-old, by the way. So eighth grade, you're starting to get into the realm of it. But even
Yeah.
at the time, I was so worried. I was conflicted. Like, should I even be doing this? Now, the story itself is kind of about the this exact topic, right? Here's an eighth grader who's working out with like legitimate like 5-star and 4-star kids in the
Mm-hmm.
gym. That's where I met Rondell Moore, and like working out alongside these kids. And I remember being very conflicted because I wanted to make sure it was told right, because I think it is exploitation, and it's just putting a certain bit of pressure on a kid, family, whomever, that he does not need. Now this is different. Like if I had guilt about that, this is just a circus. This is dumb. I have an 8-year-old daughter who I would never want to put in front of a microphone to let her. And it's not that she couldn't do it or that she can't do it. It's
Wait, you're
that it
saying
would
she's
be
not coming on the pod? I'm just kidding.
that would be great. Actually, that would be entertaining. But like in like a media setting where it's like whatever you say now is going to be held
Yes.
like no, fuck that. Like you you will be you can do whatever you want when you're going to reach a point that's comfortable. Yeah, actually, we should have her on the pod now. That's funny, but you can say whatever you want here, and people listen. We know that by fact. But I just think like I think of that age, and I'm like, that is the burden that you would place on a kid that young. Um, I'm seeing it with Jack, my middle son, who's an athlete. Like you could just tell, bona fide. Like he's
Yes.
good, pretty much at what he does right now. And even like the pressure from coaches to like play travel, we're like, no, like let's not. Like we'll do it, but like let's chill. Like
Yeah.
I hate the pressure that kids are put on. This is another level entirely because the dad, this is more for him than it is for his son, and that
Yeah.
part fucking sucks.
And it's not even about the like, hey, my son is skilled and let's, do this. It's more like, how much money can I make off this process in the meantime? Because there's no such thing now as, amateurism in that sense. And like NIL, like they're not going to be mad if he makes money on a YouTube channel and then eventually ends up at a school. This is the nature of NIL being a thing. And, that's scary because there are people that are going to look at it and be like, when can we start making money? Let's start making money now on this. And like this kid could eventually be really good, but giving him the title baby Gronk, doing all these things is all for the speculation of it. And like realistically, like we don't know how good this kid's going to be. We don't know how tall he's going to be.
Football's wild.
Like we don't
know.
We don't know. Like we don't even get it right with draft prospects that are like, that are like through puberty, you know what I mean? Like this is not normal. So yeah, it's scary, and it kind of just bothered me that there was like, and I will say a lot of the discussion was like, because I tweeted, I was like, I feel really weird about this. Like it just makes me feel incredibly uncomfortable because he's a child, and I don't want to add more commentary to it, but I was like, this makes me feel weird. And a lot of people had the same sentiment, so I'm glad that at least we're acknowledging it and not glorifying it the way that maybe we did with the Ball family. Because that was not to say that those kids didn't have talent. They did. But I mean, their dad certainly, made things a little bit more difficult for them, and it didn't necessarily pan out probably the way that they expected. But
that was an athletic story too, right? Like, I think like the original interview that prompted all of this, like Ari from The Athletic, I think wrote the story. It'd be a tough story to write. Love Ari, love The Athletic. I don't know if I could do that. I really don't. And like he did it.
Well,
I don't know now I could do that with what I feel like I've learned about the writing, the situation myself, etc.
Yeah, I feel like they did it because again, like we are in this aspect. I don't think they're condoning it.
Yeah,
I don't think they're condoning it, but I still think it did give the dad a little bit of more of a platform than he deserved. Yeah. So it's like it's a catch-22 really, but
I'm a hypocrite even for saying it. I'm basically saying it because I had that same guilt doing it. But if it was like an 8-year-old, like I've been there, and I thought about that a lot. I talked about it with my wife. I'm like, I don't know if I could write this story now.
But even if it's like trying to expose the dad and say like this is not good and showing the true colors of it, I still feel like that's a positive to be like, okay. But yeah, it I don't know. It all felt very weird to me, and I was like, I just don't want to give this any more energy than it needs, as we've talked about it for like 10 minutes.
Did you see the other story? And I forget where this was. That the NCAA has a quote unquote hot girl problem.
Oh, thank you for bringing it up. Thank you. I saw this. And again, we've had this conversation because it much like this article that was written, it was just like the article that was written about Livy Dunn, where it was they were like, oh, we were approached to talk about NIL and like the changing of NIL. That's the same thing. Livy Dunn was talking about NIL and her success in NIL. Both of those stories ended up sexualizing those women. And it was just so like, one, why does any male reporter think that they can have this sort of commentary? In what world do you think that this is okay and appropriate? Also, why do you care? This is like, I don't understand what we're getting at here. Why are we, even if, okay, say that the NCAA does have a hot girl problem. What's wrong with that? What is wrong? What is wrong with women making more than some of the men athletes? Why does that bother anybody?
So I'm glad you said that because I wanted to say that without sounding like a pervert. Like we've had this.
But like the fact that you feel uncomfortable saying that shows that you like have the like brain cells to be like, hey, you know what? It's not my place to comment on these things. And also to lie about your intentions of a story. Like I know you well enough to know you would never do that. But like the ethics of it all
that drove
is
me
just
crazy too. No, that but if it does, and these women can benefit from it and they're open to it, then good for them. Like, but I also think it's a slap in the face to like women athletes right now are like it is like there's a lot of interest in women athletics as a whole, I think, and it's not I don't know. I just don't ever see it as like a hot girl problem. I think
Well,
it's
I don't see it as a problem. Like I understand, like so this is about, by the way, the Caminder twins, who played
yes.
basketball at Miami. We should have started with that. But my thing is like you just mentioned, women's sports is growing. And like this is not like Caitlin Clark is not someone who's like posting bikini photos and
No.
doing whatever. And she's the most popular female in women's college basketball right now. But like I don't understand, like that is fine and everyone is allowed to be how they are. I think that was my beef, and I have this beef with a lot of people who make commentary, because I know in the Libby Dunn story there was a college basketball coach who said that it sets us back 50 years when people are posting pictures in their bikinis on Instagram. And like to me that's such
Oh,
a cop
fuck
out.
off.
Like that's a cop out to say that like the hot people are the like I just don't understand why like that is a concern. Everyone's allowed to be how they want to be. Any way they choose to approach their brand is their choice.
I
So
agree.
I don't think it's promoting, like, you know what, if young girls see that and think that they want to be like that, fine. If there are young girls that see other female athletes not posting that kind of stuff and want to be like that, fine. There is space for everyone to be exactly how they want to be and make money exactly how they want to make money in women's
I'm
sports.
glad. I'm glad you brought
Period.
up Caitlin Clark because it has nothing to do with appearance. It's more stylistically. She's like one of the more badass female athletes that I've
Yeah.
seen, just in terms of like this is she's not on TikTok. That's not her genre.
No,
Her
she's not
genre
dancing on
instead is
TikTok. Yeah, yeah. No,
just like
totally.
talking shit and like and I told you like my daughter like that's she sees that. I think it's amazing that you're seeing all these different ways to be however you define
Successful.
success.
Yep.
Success, right? And that's awesome. Like but it gets back to this the easiest fucking thing is that people need to mind their fucking business and just simply do you. If you're comfortable, if you're making money, if that's how you want like great. Like what were the name of the girls by the way that this was about again? I'm sorry, I forgot their last names. From
The
Miami.
Caminder twins.
They signed an equity deal with Better. Like they got equity from this
Yeah.
company. Like fuck
They
yeah.
signed
Like
with
that is
professional
like
wrestling deals. Like
like
they're
and
making
they
careers out
seem
of their
happy.
brands.
That is an amazing thing. There is more than one way to do this, and that
Yes.
is one way to do it, and that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
like so yeah, people just need to mind their fucking business. Like
Yeah. And I just don't understand why there's not common, like, are you saying that the more attractive male athletes don't have a leg up in making NIL money? Like you
yeah,
could just say the more attractive, like, or more in your face positions. Like we could argue that quarterbacks are making more in NIL than any other position on the football field, but like no one seems to be complaining about that. Like, oh, NIL is a quarterback problem.
no,
Like,
it goes
no.
into broadcasting. It goes into everything. Like
Yeah, it's like
like
I just think the commentary is so grimy, and to also do it under the pretense of like you're going to promote these women and really give them an opportunity to explain their brands, that's bullshit. And again,
I'm sorry, I
your
didn't.
energy should also be focused on people like, Caitlin Clark, who, like use your resources to talk about all of the women who are making money off their brands. Caitlin Clark is making money off of her brand as well. Just because it looks different than somebody else's doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. And like
You know
that's
what's
open to your opinion, but it's not for you to say that there is a problem. And also, it's really
um
not open to his opinion. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up.
but by the way, uh, guilty pleasure of mine is watching I like YouTube. Careful, hold on.
What is
Let me
this
get there.
transition?
Let me get there. When like during COVID,
Hmm.
when baseball cards, sports cards became a thing again, and I
Yeah.
had like a huge collection of sports cards, so I would, you know, I sold some, and then I'd watch like basically people open packs of cards on YouTube. See, I'm getting to there. And I think it's so fucking cool. Like now you've got Wemby and you've got Caitlin Clark. There's like a set of Bowman cards.
Hmm.
The two biggest, like Caitlin Clark's card is like like one of the more desirable sports cards, like her autograph in like everything right now. That is so cool. Like, yes, you have a generational prospect heading into the NBA, and you have one of the best female players ever. And the fact that her sports, like, it's in that demand, like, I think it's awesome. See,
Yeah.
I got there. I didn't fuck it
You
up
did.
completely.
No,
Thanks for looking out, though.
yeah, no, I just think it's a very weird thing to focus on, and I'm kind of tired of male reporters deciding that they can
Oh,
dub
they're not
that there's a hot
reporters.
girl problem or discussing women's appearance, period. It's not up to you. It's not up to you.
I can't imagine writing that headline, like creating the headline, or like uh, it's just cringe. This isn't that hard. There are a lot of great stories out there to write.
And also, like, I understand writing like NIL issues and like discrepancies in it, but like that's what you think is the problem in the issue here. Like you're worried about like what who are you advocating for? Who is like
I
the
don't.
people you're sticking up for in this situation?
I don't think they care. I don't. I think they just want to
The
create a
drama.
yes, and it works too because here we are talking. We can't help it. Like the bait. Like it's like, ooh, look at this meat on a hook. I can't help it.
We've talked
Neither
about
can you
this.
too. I'm
You
sorry.
will no, and
You want to talk? You want?
it was gonna be my random shit, so I'm glad you brought it up because
You
I
want?
can't believe that this is happening again. We're having this conversation again. We had it with even like the F1 influencer thing where people get upset. Like I just don't understand commenting on other people's brands and how
You want
they
to?
choose to live their life.
You want to cleanse the palate with some nods? So,
Yes,
so
let's talk gambling.
okay.
Let's talk
So
gambling.
again, every week I feel like DraftKings, sponsor the pod, is just throwing out little chum for us to dive into, which is
Yeah.
always the unique bets. Now we could talk SEC win totals. I don't want to do that. There's a new bet. Last week we talked to make the playoff odds, which were interesting. They're pretty interesting, kind of all over the place. Some surprises, some not. Today, perusing is the will they have an undefeated regular season? Now, these are weird odds. An undefeated. I don't know how many undefeated regular seasons were there last year. Michigan had an undefeated regular season, right? Georgia had an undefeated regular season. I believe that was it. TCU lost a game. Well, they lost in the Big 12 championship, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, they lost before that too. Did they? Yes, they had like. So the point of this, which is the bigger point, is going undefeated is really hard. So, what? Who do you think is the lowest odds team? Well, this one's pretty easy. I would think to go. Wow, is there not even odds on the team that I was thinking about? I don't think there is. The
I
answer, of
see.
course, is Georgia.
Vanderbilt. Oh,
Oh no,
I was thinking like least
reverse
likely odds, sorry.
okay. So
Lowest
Georgia.
odds meaning the number, not
Yes,
least
I'm sorry.
likely.
Not
Okay.
yes. So the next in line, who would you say would be next in line? I don't see any Georgia odds here.
Besides Georgia
Yes.
would be Alabama, right?
Alabama is plus 300, yes.
Okay, wait, hold
Minus
on.
400, minus 400, no. Which is like Alabama's going to lose a game, most likely, right? 4-1, Alabama's going to lose a game. They are tied with another team to have an unbeaten regular season.
LSU or Tennessee?
Michigan. Plus
Oh,
300,
I'm sorry.
yes.
I thought you were just doing the SEC.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I fucked this up from start to finish. LSU's not far behind.
So wait.
Michigan
What
plus.
are these odds that we're talking about then? I'm sorry. You lost me.
Okay. All right.
And if I'm lost, I feel like somebody listening might be
No, no,
lost.
no.
What odds are you
Oh,
looking
I
at
know.
right now?
These are
Undefeated seasons.
nationally undefeated seasons.
Okay.
So Michigan to have an undefeated regular season is plus 300, yes. Minus 400, no. So they are tied with Alabama. And then right behind them is Ohio State.
No state.
Plus
Yeah.
310, minus 400, no. Now, can I tell you what I'm kind of contemplating?
Go ahead.
Florida State, plus 600, yes. Anything
Undefeated regular
there?
season?
Undefeated regular season.
I mean, that could be over quick with LSU, but
Oh, that's a good point. That would be so sad. But then it's done. Then you don't have to think about it anymore. Bless you.
thank you.
USC, plus 550, yes. Minus 800, no. I'm kind of like, I won't say I'm down on USC.
Save your
I
money
don't
and
think
don't bet
I'm
on anyone in the Pac-12 to ever have an undefeated season. I can't remember the last time that happened. Somebody Google that and tweet it to me.
Oregon plus 750, minus 1400 no. LSU plus 750, minus 1400 no. Penn State is, by the way, Twitter, like off-season champs. We do this every year. We've
Mm-hmm.
done the pod like what, 2 off seasons. Penn State's going to be that team, one of those teams. Plus 650, yes. Minus 1100, no. Texas plus 650, yes. Minus 1100, no. North Carolina, which they include on all these things, 15-1. Plus 1500, yes. Minus 6,000, no. To your point about it being a chalky year, I think it's fair, but I think it's a different kind of chalky. Now, there's no Georgia on this. I'm assuming Georgia, because their schedule is not that hard, would probably be maybe plus 100. I don't know. But I kind of feel I feel that way that you do, but I do think there will be a few curveballs in there. The problem is Florida State, which would be like, wow, Florida State is in the playoff, wouldn't necessarily be shocking, would it? Like Florida State's pretty
Mm-hmm.
good. They had a really good year. They have a quarterback. They have return of the talent. Clemson, same thing. So this to me is there's a small batch of teams that a playoff contender is going to come from, right? Like that's what this tells me. I don't know if I love it. And then ultimately, if you have a weird college football season, all these no's could cash. But
Yeah,
man, it also tells me how fucking hard it is to go undefeated. We take that for granted. Like it
we
is
do.
really hard for any team, even Michigan or Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, to go unbeaten. So there you go. Oh, Notre Dame too. Plus
No,
1,000, yes.
save your money. Save your money on this. If you're gonna put money on
Minus
it, put it on
2,000,
Georgia.
no.
I'm not gonna sprinkle anything on anyone in that group.
I
If
would
they
agree
put
with you
Georgia
there.
odds, yeah, there's just no way. They're safer
Um,
bets.
I am like having the itch to gamble, by the
You
way.
are. I can sense it.
I am really I also bet on the US Open, which is going on right now. Would you like a score refresher here as we do
Yeah.
this thing?
Yes.
I did not bet on Ricky Fowler, but
You
Team
st-
Ricky, I'll throw away all the
Team
bets.
Ricky. Mm-hmm.
That would be amazing. 8 under.
Wait. Something on
What?
Ricky, just this goes along with random shit, but did you hear him say that he wants to, him, Jordan, and JT all want to invest in well, they used to be a Premier League team, they got relegated. But look, our
Yes.
world's coming together.
I
Wait.
know.
Wait. Go give us your US Open takes, and then I have something to discuss with you.
So we're recording this a day later, and I don't have very strong takes other than I bet Brooks Koepka, I bet Justin Rose, that's dead. I bet Cam Smith, which is TBD, and who else did I bet? It's not looking good right
I
now.
bet Scotty Scheffler because I've cashed twice on him this year. So
Scotty
excellent.
Scheffler is
Always
sitting
safe bet.
great.
Okay,
But
hold
my
on.
2 takes would be
Yes.
I love the sicko course videos of the greens being diabolical.
Yeah.
I love this shit. And if guys are shooting 8 under, I feel like they're gonna make this shit impossible. Like the greens, they're gonna dry them out. I don't know what the weather report is. Like
Yeah.
I'm here for the sicko shit. Though.
I like
Bring
how
me
the
down.
conversation leading up to this was like the course is going to be tricky. It may not be that great of a tournament, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then we've seen the scores today and we're like, just kidding. There was a report that Netflix is looking to live stream a tournament with golfers and Formula One drivers in the fall. Now, look, this would be the Super Bowl of all Super Bowl events for me because there is legitimately nothing I love more than, like, if you were combining, like, even, like, my love of college football aside, my love of golf and Formula One is, like, a little disturbing, and I would want nothing more than to have, like, mic'd up people at a live golf tournament talking. Those people that were on, like, Drive to Survive and then the Full Swing show. I would love nothing more. It kind of gives me Match vibes, which is company conflict here. It's giving the Match vibes, but I do appreciate that, like, Netflix is attempting something like this and giving the people what they want, because again, like, it technically would be like a live sporting event, but it's also still has that drama of Netflix. It's the perfect, like, in between of what Netflix should be doing in terms of sports.
Didn't
Live sports
Netflix
coverage.
Netflix did a live show and it like shit the bed, right? Like what was that? Like
You mean like
it
a
was like a
live?
date. Yes. With this, I'm assuming this would be
Oh,
like.
oh, oh! You're talking about Love Is Blind. Wow, I'm impressive with your pop
Thank you,
culture
thank you.
knowledge. They did a
Well, I
live
didn't know what it
reunion
was.
show and the streaming like completely kaput and was really bad. Yes, this
Okay.
would need to be, but also they said it would be this fall, and there is and in Las Vegas. Again, add that
Now,
into why this would be the greatest sporting event ever.
yeah.
Um, it
No, I'm
it
with you
sounds
there.
like it could be the week leading into the race in Las Vegas. I personally will be there in Las Vegas, and I will literally rearrange my entire schedule to be there for whatever this golf tournament is. But it sounds wonderful, and I just would like to say that I need it to happen. I need it more than I need air, really. Come on, Netflix.
I I like the idea because their production like resources and quality will be insanely high,
Mm-hmm.
and there'll be some really cool. I just also love when like the match, like again, Company Man 2, BR, like they cultivated like a really cool thing.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I
Which
love the
is
match.
like which is positioning people together of like different sports, different backgrounds, whatever. Like, yeah, do another spin on something like that. Like it would be really, really cool to see.
Well, and it's like combining people's like love of certain things. So like a lot of people that love Drive to Survive watched Full Swing because they watched Drive to Survive and thought it was going to be interesting, not because they were big golf people. So I feel
Yes.
like you're bringing people into sports and then combining those worlds is really great. And I also just find it interesting that like, you know, I've noticed even just myself becoming a Premier League fan in the last year, the fact that like there's professional golfers who want to invest in teams, and then JG Watt and his wife invested in a team, and then that started all with Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds investing in a team, like not in the Premier League but obviously in a football overseas in
Yes.
Wales. But it's all very cool to me because it's like bringing the sports community together, and it's not as like not divided, but like not as like separated as it has been. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's a lot of crossover content that people are going to take advantage of, and that's going to bring people to other sports that maybe didn't watch before. Which would be really interesting. I do think they'd be able to get Formula One drivers to play tennis as well. So they play a lot of paddle. Oh, speaking of, sorry, I'm just going on rants. I had a lot of random shit today.
This is the time.
I took a pickleball intro to pickleball class over the weekend, and I gotta tell you, I'm a natural. I'm an absolute natural at pickleball, and I will be playing, and I will end up in tournaments because it is so fun. It is probably one of the more fun things that I have experienced as an adult. It was so fun,
Did
and
you
I'm good.
play tennis as a kid?
No, my dad tried, but that didn't work. He also tried to get me to play golf. I had like little tiny golf clubs. Didn't get gloves. I got them for Christmas. Didn't get gloves for Christmas. Went out there, took a couple swings, got a blister, and that was the end of my golf career. Um, Tennis, no. And then I played soccer for most of my childhood. But yeah, no, I was not a big tennis player, so I was shocked at how talented I was at pickleball because you actually don't need to be that athletic to do it. It's more just like competitive drive to understand it and like awareness. You don't really need to be physically
I
fit.
I'm in. I'm in. I it like it is. Well, I love tennis. First of all, tennis is a great game. Pickleball is like you just like it's like pong, like literal, not even ping
Yes.
pong. It's like the game pong. It's like ding, 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 point over, good.
Yes.
Um, I like that you're. Now, are you good hands, like good volley player? Are you
Yeah,
playing singles or doubles? Like,
doubles. We played doubles and we were learning, but like I was clearly the most like competitive person. I was like telling it was my mom's cousin was here visiting, and I was like, you go there. You have to stand there that way. It's like covered more of the court. Like this is, and then the instructor was like, okay, we're just learning. I'm like, okay.
I could see you
Okay.
getting aggressive at
Oh,
pickleball. All
I
right,
am so competitive that I was like, it was so funny. At the very beginning of the class,
just
he was
learning.
like, oh, just like, and the main thing is to like have fun. I'm like, that's what losers say. So
Yeah, that is what
I'm so competitive. It's so bad. I
we're just learning.
and also I
That's
never do like what was I talking about? Oh, my mom has this thing where like my brother and I won't play backgammon with her because she's so good at it and she's so competitive, and I won't play anything that I'm not going to win. Like, I very much know my talents and I bring my talents to the table where I know I will be successful because I'm a sore loser. And she was like, yeah, my kids won't leave me. And I don't know why. I'm like, it's because she always wins and I'm not willing to lose. I'm not willing to lose. And my mom was never the person to like let her kids win a board game. That was like not a thing in my house. You
Um,
you had to play by the rules, and there was like, you had to learn that you're gonna lose sometimes. And still I became a sore loser, so I don't know if that strategy works,
I
and now I'm just so
I
competitive.
in the Dells when the kids went to bed. Actually, not all of them. Olivia stayed up. My oldest. My dad, stepmom came into our room like kids are asleep. She brought a huge stack of hotel cards that they've seen all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
and we took the ice bucket and we put it out near the end of the room, like near the wall.
Yeah,
And all you're doing is trying to get the hotel card into
in
the
the
fucking ice
bucket.
bucket. Buddy, it got intense. Okay, like it's the same thing. See, I'm like the opposite though. Like you give me something to do, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
fucking master it. So by the end of the night, it was like last two standing, my dad and I lost, and I was not happy about it. Like it's hotel key throwing. Also, highly recommend if you're in a hotel room looking for something to do, ice bucket, hotel key cards, try and get it in. Oh, we had a good time. And
yeah.
yes, wine helped. Like
Wine helped, I
aggressive
bet.
amounts of
No,
wine. Oh my
it's
god.
true. The competitive nature, I don't know. I mean, I'll try new things that I don't know if I'm good at, but once I know that I'm not going to master this as quickly as I want to, that's when I exit. Is I'm like, all right.
I
See, because I
I
also
like
have a
that.
brother who's like naturally gifted at everything. See, the difference between us is he's a sibling that like everything comes pretty easy to him. It's whatever. I work my butt off, but I'm going to get there. So I'm going to
Yeah.
outgrind you, but I may not come with natural abilities, but I will outgrind you. And then my brother's just like naturally gifted, 6'8", gigantic, just lefty, just all of the good things naturally. He's good at math. I was never good at math, So we all have our strong suits,
That is
Know
amazing.
thyself.
Yeah, and your
Mm.
limitations and what you're good at.
Yes.
All right, anything else? This is great. I love random shit. It's my favorite part of this.
No, I think that's it.
Good.
Just look out
Can
for me
watch
on the
the
pickleball circuit.
Oh, my other favorite, real quick, US Open. The other thing I love about US Open is how late like golfers play until like fucking 9:30 at night because of the time of the year. Huge fan. When it's on the West Coast, when it's in your time zone, it's even
My
better.
neck of the woods.
I know it's even better. But I'm gonna enjoy that this week. We got some good bettable things. We got UFC. We got all sorts of stuff coming up. So, last thing, Jokic, right?
Oh yeah.
Telling everybody he just wants to go home and like I just want to go to my house. Now today at the parade, we win the finals. He's great. He said,
Yeah.
I'm glad to be at the fucking parade. Like he walked it back a little bit, and everybody cheered. I do love an athlete that just is clocking in and clocking out. I actually love his comments. Like I just can't wait to go home. And then
Naturally.
today he had some fun, but like we asked these people to do so much and be. This is a fucking job.
Yeah.
So when you hear a guy like him looks exhausted, it's been a long year. They win it all. He's just business-like, briefcase, puts his hard hat up, clocks in, clocks out. I
Yeah.
actually love the fact that like you can treat this like the job, and that's not the end of the world. I thought it was awesome.
Well, and the other part of it is that he wants to get home to watch his horses race. And it's so funny
Yes,
because my brother loves betting on horses. And he was like, wow, I've never felt so seen in my life. You know what I mean? And I was like,
like
exactly. Like he just wants to,
I,
do his job and get to see his horses race. Yeah. And like, again, this is somebody who's naturally skilled and is good at this. And not to say that he doesn't work hard, but like he is really skilled. And also just like hearing the stories about like the other players talking about him, like
oh yeah,
Austin Rivers, who used to play with him, said like they lost a really big playoff game and he was just like sitting playing video games in his locker room. Like he doesn't live and die by it. And I think like we're
I
so
know.
used to seeing, and we saw this a little bit with the reaction to Giannis's press conference, and now with Jokic, is like people are seeing that like these people are also humans too, and like they don't have to be robots that like live, eat, and die basketball for them to be successful, and like that's actually really reassuring.
I love it. I I want to see more of this, of like maybe we'll win it next year or not. I don't know. Either way, I'm getting paid. And that's not what he said. It's just like there's a level of connection people feel to their fans, feel to the team. And in the end, like, there's only so much a player can do or say to show you that they care.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he did it and they won, and I'm like watching this, right? And I'm like just shaking hands and like just like stoic. Like I loved his comments. And
also,
yeah,
I wanted to bring up the fact that his daughter was the most well-behaved child.
Oh my God,
I have ever seen. Like you've had like toddlers, like you know what it's like.
Terrible.
The fact that she kept her bow in, didn't cry. I mean, that was so loud, and she just was like unfazed. Like that goes to show you that habit. Also, I just want to say is like a parenting thing. That goes to show you that having parents that are like so like he's clearly very unfazed by all of this and like unfazed by really anything. Being unfazed sometimes helps with that. But yeah, the fact that she didn't rip her bow out and didn't cry when people were like screaming was just the funniest part of that all to me. And she's adorable. So
I love all that. They're a great story. He is a great story. Clock in, clock out. That's what we do, and we'll do it on the pod. Anything else? Now that we just random shit ourselves to death here.
No, I think I'm good.
All right, next week for real. I want to do more gambling. Obviously, some week 1 early plays, some week 0 early plays.
Okay.
I had a really weird idea. Because there's this Boomer Sooner Twitter account. Do you know this account that just tweets out random shit of like top 50 media personalities in college football, top 100 safeties? I want to do this. I want to rank the best uniforms in college football next week.
Next week already? Okay.
Just uniforms.
Okay.
Because this fucking Twitter account just comes up with random shit, terrible rankings all year long. And all I see
gets away with it.
I want to churn. I'm in it for social. That's all I want.
Okay. I will say, Oregon fans, be warned. I won't come lightly for you. It's going to be aggressive, and it's not going to be what you want to hear.
Oh, do you want to do worst uniforms too?
We can do worst uniforms. No. I don't like. No, that's negative. I don't like negativity. I just will say they're not going to be on my best.
Well, that's not exactly positivity, but I'm just saying.
But I'm not making a whole list out of it. I'm just saying you're not going to be on my best list, and I know you want to be.
See, I am in it for views. Okay, this is why I want to do it. Like this Twitter account, I'll send it to you. These fucking guys, all they do is just piss people off.
I like how you're really giving people a behind the curtain here.
I'm in it here for the numbers. Okay, we do enough for the people. They know where our hearts are. Now
we just want everyone to enjoy this as much as you do while listening.
Yeah, no. Let's start spamming the universe like this Twitter account. I gotta find it. All right,
we will spam the universe next week, guys.
Cheers.